Okay, it's 8 p.m. We're in Joinville and today is March 18th, 2026. Today's live stream has a very interesting title, Search or Lose Yourself. So I'm going to talk about zones 1, 2, and 3 between native drugs and altered states of consciousness. So we're going to study that. There are many people who are very, very much searching for a distorted consciousness or trying to change it, thinking, my consciousness is full of things, I have to change things, I have to improve because my consciousness is tired, there's too much stuff that's being crammed into my head, so I have to change. And with these changes, people travel, they go to India, they go to China, they go to Japan, they go to the United States, they go somewhere because it is trying to find itself. And a large part of these people get lost because this search can be an outward search. And when the search is outward, you don't find yourself because whoever finds themselves stops searching. It's impressive. And I spent a lot of time in that. I had a time when I was doing some work with ayahuasca and such and searching for more things. And one of the guys, one of the masters in this area said to me, Jacques, look, I'll give you a tip. Don't search anymore. Stop. Things will come. You're searching anxiously. You're going to encounter what you no longer need. Then you calm down and you. Hey, listen, if I stop searching, I accept myself because searching is almost like running away from where you are. And that's what we're going to try to talk about today. We're going to try to talk about some things and see how these searches occur and how we get stuck. And we're going to talk a little more about zones 1, 2, and 3 again, until people understand them quite well. Then I'll just mention them. Pressure isn't when you pressure yourself, you tense up to do something. Look, my way of seeing things is different. I'm not looking at the mind. The mind is the interruption you feel in your vision. All my bodily stasis is the exception itself. There's movement in space, okay? But look, that's where the mind comes from. And we, as we talk about our things, the seeking and the losing, let's say we're going to look at the impact that words have on the body. If we look at the impact that words have on the body, oh, perfect, you're paying attention now. Deconstructing, because words can lead you down a path to something I would call subjectivity. This subjectivity sometimes doesn't speak to the body, and sometimes it does. And sometimes it can create tension in the body. It's a subjectivity, a narrative, and this tension limits perceptions. Sometimes it's a necessary feeding. Sometimes the child is completely free and you put pressure on the child. Be careful, now it's like this, now it's like that. Now you're at your uncle's house, your cousin's house, now you're at school, now you're at church. I put pressure on them. By putting pressure on them, this child experiences a physical rigidity, either proprioceptive or interoceptive, a pressure, a visceral tension. And they reinforce this narrative with this pressure. Look at what I'm saying. Blue, blue, blue. Fear. He felt fear. He felt a certain uncertainty. What's going to happen? I'm scared. He locks his body. Narrative takes over. And now I behave based on a narrative that doesn't give me the creativity for it in this space, but it can release a little more. I'm going to give you a different example. You're going to like it a lot. I learned this from in Sergio Toffi's presentations, which I attended a lot in a weekly sleep meeting. I would go there, stay. I really enjoy scientific work presentations. On one occasion, Professor Sergio Toffi said the following. Look, there's something that people forget about, the generation of pleasure, the generation of the sensation of pleasure. One of the greatest pleasures is when you impose pain or tension on the individual, restriction, pain, uncertainty, pressure, stress. And when you remove some of that stress, there's a lot of pleasure. Okay, we're getting there. to seek oneself or to lose oneself. It depends on the narrative and it depends on where you go in India, in China, or in a desert or in the ice. You have so many restrictions on space, food, and things, so much pressure, so much pain. What a small relief. Heavens. It's glorious. It's the best thing in life. So what happens? I restrict the person in this religiosity, in this totally restrictive sect. You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't. This restriction, this pressure, this immense stress, this pain, is it meant to give value to life? No, no, no. I take away a little bit of the pain to make it enormous and control people. Because then I make this person be in a henpecked position, under stress, in enormous tension. And when I relax a little on the weekend or in any religious ritual, pleasure, this is extremely important. So take a look. Every narrative, when it enters you, whether it's because of uncertainty or fear, that narrative will pick up on your fear. For example, let's say someone is going to talk to me and I already get like this, and my stomach contracts a little somehow, a certain tension in my stomach, and here are 2 points, and the narrative, blah, 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 in the environment or something, religious or political. It doesn't matter what it is. This narrative, if it keeps repeating over time, it stabilizes in my brain. And by establishing itself in my body, it establishes itself with this visceral tension, with this postural tension. Postural tension isn't just about feeling tense, it's about blocking movement. If there's no space and no movement, the body doesn't signal properly and doesn't regulate itself. Therefore, narratives can cause the body to have a restriction of space. Space to move, to stretch, to have space in the perception of space as movement within space. I can't do this, I can't do that. So, space restriction and movement, if I can speak, if I can present myself, if I can position myself the way I want. I always tell you the following: mental hyperspace, all the possibilities of you, your DNA, and your body having consciousness, all the possibilities of you with your living DNA having consciousness, mental hyperspace. In this mental hyperspace, when you have consciousness, you will normally have a consciousness based on a position, on a reference point, on a narrative, often based on this abstraction of thoughts. And from that reference point, you see the world. Okay, but if I take this tense narrative, I'm going to see the world from that point with restriction. This is very important for us to know. This restriction diminishes critical thinking in this area. This is important, and perhaps I'll delve into it a little. Sometimes, when this restriction occurs, and it happens culturally, the bodies of individuals begin to lack certain movements. The body of a civilization is always a little stiffer. It doesn't have the lightness of dance. It's a little stiffer, but I think. And behind this, there's a narrative of a deity or a politician or a religious leader or a father or a mother. Something is there to keep the body in that rigidity. But that rigidity was generated because of childhood fear. During childhood, 5, 6, 7 years old, it doesn't matter the age that created that narrative, or even adult fear, or listen, and we have this pursuit of money, of capital, of profit, that the state lets all its citizens chase after money, but they run, 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 run. You say, my goodness, they're running so much after money. What's happening to these people? And this tension of chasing after money, this tension creates a cognitive restriction in the body as well, a limitation in cognition because it's so much tension. Human beings aren't inherently driven by this pursuit of money. They are, however, driven by capitalism, which has allowed the super rich to control the states and the controlled states. It seems like things are going very smoothly in Brazil now, right? Oil prices are fluctuating even though the government maintains the same price at the refinery. But the right wing has already privatized the distribution company, so the price keeps fluctuating. And now it's becoming a political weapon to overthrow governments. But who is using this political weapon? The super rich. Only the super rich. Destabilizing the government by raising and lowering the price. So why? Because it's a state that is truly held hostage by a small caste. We return to the title, to seek oneself and to lose oneself. When you grasp a narrative about anything and you become tense with fear, that narrative enters your mind, provokes tension, and maintains that tension. It settles in your brain, it becomes intertwined with the body. There are things that are just abstractions, they are just semantics. They are things that don't have much to do with the body. There are things that do have to do with the body. So when you start simply reading a book, watching a video, it becomes a small abstraction. But suddenly that abstraction connects with the body, connects with your heart, connects with your posture, connects with your way of being. At that moment, you incorporated that knowledge, you incorporated that narrative. One important thing, for example, is that if you are a man or a woman, and sometimes you identify as a man or a woman, you're already a post-narrative of being a man or a woman. But before being a man or a woman, you are a living being. This narrative is bigger, and a living being that doesn't even need its own narrative. I breathe, I am, oh, I am a man. My movement, I signal, I regulate myself, my body. My body is doing this. The self depends on the reference it uses in hyperspace. It depends on which narrative it sits on. It references itself in it, what body position it makes in this environment, in this theater, in this football game, in this public square. The positioning of the body is a reference to that vision that it has, vision, hearing. Looking at you, placing you before a body, a territory, and you position yourself by positioning yourself. Hey, the referenced self appears, and this referenced self can be a self with belonging or without belonging. And if someone with belonging is calm, they're fine, they're free. Without belonging, they're a little more afraid, and the narrative is zero. What's the problem with that? The speech, in order for you to belong to this group, is sometimes a speech that doesn't align with your own coherence, but you're under pressure, and this speech enters you, and you accept it in order to belong. You don't accept no because you see that it's a truth that your consciousness is elaborating. You accept it to belong, to enjoy the group, the body territory, the collective. So you accept it. And this acceptance suddenly restricts some movements, whether vocal or physical, you restrict them. So you are restricting a way of being. Calm down. And the altered state of consciousness through some drug, I don't know, too much coffee, too much sugar, too much alcohol, simple drugs or other hallucinogenic drugs, a simple mess. When you use these simple drugs, you have the following. Sometimes you feel that you have a loosened plasticity, you become a little more flexible. But you become more flexible when faced with narratives that sometimes lack truth, that lack materiality. Flexibility doesn't help much. You only relax a little, but you're still dealing with insane things. It's difficult, but always try to base your life on something concrete, something real, something material, photographed, proven, alive or not. Proof. Otherwise, you go from one statement to another, from one statement to another. Possibility, possibility, possibility. It's possible, it's possible, it's possible. That's what I think is possible. There's no such thing as probability. None. The possibility of, for example, the sky swallowing the earth, the water disappearing from the planet, that's a possibility. The possibility of you never having existed, that's a possibility. The probability of you never having existed is zero. You already exist, but the possibility exists. So the conversation keeps talking about possibility and you get lost. When you delve into religious practices, that involve yoga, meditation. In many places, I like that. But there comes a certain point when the person starts talking and delves deeper into the doctor of the doctor who meditated 1,000 years ago and his writings from 1,000 years ago and begins to follow that scripture, that manner, with a consciousness from 1,000, 2,000 years ago. Dude, how complicated is that? You're going to try to argue with this master. Not now, right? No. In a world with the internet, in a world with artificial intelligence, no, he'll say that the writings don't mean that word means something else. Why? To massify you in a narrative that you can't understand. That's all. And that's when the following comes into play. Stories do something very beautiful to you. They can make you, with much more predictability, you become more able to predict the future faster. And uncertainty is very complicated in our lives. Do you have certainty about tomorrow, for example, about the dollar going up or down? Nobody knows. Nobody knows what will happen tomorrow. You'll see if it goes up or not. Will your fuel prices go up or not? You have a probability of it not going up, but nobody knows. Those who have fixed, ready-made narratives have the explanation. They have a sense of security. It's more or less like this. It's almost like rolling a die. You roll the die. It has 6 sides, meaning the probability is 1 in 6 for the number to come up, and the number 1 comes up. You're going to roll the die again, and you say, no, now roll it again. The numbers 2, 3, 4, and 5 came up, and suddenly you think it's 6's turn now. There's no such thing as 6. The probability is 1 in 6, always. Every time you roll the die, it's 1 in 6 for one of those numbers to come up. It doesn't change depending on how you roll. Because if it's a 1, it won't come up again. It might come up again. It might come up once more. It's likely to happen. It's more difficult to roll a 1 again. But it will happen because every time you roll the die, it's 1 in 6. It's always 1 in 6. Do you understand? In life, sometimes those who have this narrative think that because of this deity, because of God, or because of Jesus, or because of Buddha, or because of Muhammad, or because something is going to happen because it happened to so and so. Now it's going to happen to me. Now you start to have predictability. You start to foresee the future, what's going to happen, and you start to explain everything that happens to you. And you think you can explain what's coming in 15 minutes. You don't. That's a human bias. We think we know because of the narrative we adopt. The best thing is to go back to being like a 2 or 3-year-old child in that sense. You have your expertise, you have your things, but you're not predictive. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know. But the narrative, the theory that's been put in your head, you think you control everything. And then when you go to these Tibetan therapies or others, which are important, are valid, it compensates for that. But it's not worth getting stuck in it, thinking you've arrived at the truth. No, no, the truth lies with those who no longer search, with those who feel their bodies. In those who have movement, there is space and movement. In that space and movement, the body regulates itself, those who have more stability. So these external pursuits help you on life's paths, but they can lock you up at times, a heavy lockup. People come back thinking they now know everything, and suddenly that's not quite the case. Life has a complex aspect, of course it does, but it's very, very, very simple for those who don't get lost in words. You need to eat, drink, you need to breathe, you need exercise, you need to sleep, you need to rest. You need to feel a little bit of stability. You also need to reduce some of the uncertainties. So Life, as I told you, I talked about truths and certainties and something different, but you know, when you go for a walk and you're walking randomly through a forest or in the desert, you're not always walking, you walk on a trail. Everything is new, everything can happen, everything is uncertain on this path you have. Everything is uncertain. That's reality. Reality is uncertainty. You're walking, you're moving, whether on a trail or not, you're moving through a world of uncertainties. Then suddenly you arrive at the inn. At the inn, a world of small certainties begins to emerge. Even if that certainty is false, you need it. You need to sleep with the certainty that you will rest, that you will sleep well, that you will wake up well. If you don't have that certainty, it becomes very uncertain. Your sleep is disturbed. So you see, even with a little bit of falsehood or deceit, you will have to adjust your certainties a little so you can sleep, so you can rest. When narratives start working in your head, imposing certainties forever, all the way, everywhere. You know, I'm protected, I'm this and that. It helps you sometimes to tolerate a really bad situation. Of course, that's good. But for you to achieve high performance, better results, you have to step outside the narrative and focus on yourself, onto yourself. Have your degree, have a college degree, have your studies, which is good for the culture we live in. Right now, these studies and what they're saying in schools and colleges is important for our development. The way it's being done is sometimes conflicting, but it's what we have in terms of educational resources, and it's good for us, it's good for you, it's good for me. Okay, but after these resources, you'll think about your body, how it is inside and how it is outside, how is your movement, how is your worldview. Yes, but you're pursuing this to have your own money, to have your own things. And now you have a little more financial freedom, that real financial freedom, okay? You're earning and working, not the fake financial freedom of the financial market, talking blah, 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 blah. I don't need to work anymore, blah, 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 and lies to you. Take everything you put in there, and the financial market keeps creating new possibilities like master or new possibilities to speculate on how money now the cost of oil now goes up and down because it controls the distributor. That's the financial market. It's people who just want to increase their money. So you have to know that, and you have a certain financial stability. Oh, and now I don't worry about money anymore. And since I do what I love, and what I love attracts people because I really enjoy what I do, I can even increase my profits based on what I really love to do. Increase your profit a little in what you really enjoy. That's important for you. And then your financial stability becomes good and you move into zone two. Don't put too much effort on yourself. Don't put too much stress on yourself. Don't believe too much in what you think. Don't believe what you believe. Don't believe too much in your faith. Use your faith to do something. Use your belief to do something. It's for doing. When you have phrases in your head to do what? If it's just speculation, it's just possibility, 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 and nothing. Then life ends and it's gone from time, from possibility, or from videos, or from games, or from therapies and therapies and therapies and nothing. Life is the pulse of now. It's your present moment. It's your little heart, your breath, your way of being, of feeling. Without the narrative, the narrative is meant to help you feel better, even if it's hindering you. Reject the narrative. It's you. When you search, it's because you don't have it. If you're searching for love because you've let go, you no longer love, you don't have it. You can't locate love within yourself. When you perceive love within yourself in some part, however small, it begins to grow because you perceive it within yourself. You don't search outside. Whoever searches outside denies what's inside. If you want to find yourself, stop searching. But sometimes it's important to go on a retreat, get out of the environment you're in, and suddenly your mind can stabilize. Look at just two things: proprioception and interoception. Interoception is all your feelings, it's all about food, it's what you eat with your eyes, with your ears, with your words. That's interoception. And this is an important moment for you. You're going to regulate your mind, your movements, and your deepest feelings, your deepest emotions. These words help you to tense up, restrict movements, and calm certain things and feelings. Get that? And then when you go searching for yourself, people can share a narrative with you so you can experience a profound feeling. He's experienced it, he knows the way. If he knows the way, I don't need the narrative anymore. I can change the words and arrive at the same place. That's it. It's simply that. Words are a means, they're a technology to help you achieve things, including building something, doing something. Words are not an end in themselves, they are tools to lead you somewhere, including certain beliefs, but words don't have an end in themselves. Words will pass through your mind so you can feel things and release tension. And when these tensions are being released, you become stronger, more belonging, more in tune with your environment, more body territory. You It's easier to get out of here in a group with everyone. You're okay, you're okay. Actually, you're doing well. The fact is that the narratives make us more tense. Even if you have an illness, you can still benefit from zone two. Zone two is take your time exhaling and holding all the air in your lungs, but do it calmly without any anxiety. Zone two is exhale slowly, and you get a little breathless and feel kind of floating. You can even move around and let it breathe easy. The narrative isn't important. The narrative existed so you could do things. It existed so you could get to where you are. It simply existed. Your past built you into who you are now. You can take away the words. It's over. And you can change the words. Just the two of you with yourself, feeling your body, feeling your visceral tensions, feeling your heart, your breath, the air coming in, your body position, the tension that's there a little bit. There's this here, there. Release a little, prepare to sleep peacefully. The words were important to guide you. They are tools for doing, to lead you down a certain path. They are not important in themselves. They are not important enough to be. I'm not a man, I am not a woman, I am not Jackson. These are just words for identification. If I grab hold of them, I get lost in them. If I hold on to one of them, I get lost in them. I am a living being. I am on planet Earth. It is my home. We are together. Look how beautiful this is. It's not me against you or against anyone. We're in this together. So searching is almost like ceasing the search. It's about relaxing. It's about taking away the words and removing those cognitive pathways of brain formation that have placed our lives on top of tensions or uncertainties. It's about stuffing uncertainty, fear, into our physical senses. And I simply start by taking everything I hear. I detect more errors and reinforce the narratives that I have. They are biased. It's talking about things that have no materiality whatsoever, where it's not probable, not photographed, nothing. And it remains just an abstraction and a personal failing. That's what I wanted to leave you with. The search, the encounter happens as if this search, but sometimes with so many words, so many thoughts in our heads, it's difficult to get rid of those thoughts. Relax, just leave them be. Don't pay them any attention. See the body tension and movement, the spaces you have, the visceral tensions of your little heart, your lungs. Feel them, make them vibrate. Tomorrow you can work and use words however you want, but to feel alive, I don't need words, I don't need thoughts, I just need to feel deeply. The being feeling alive, that's what I wanted to leave you with. A big hug and see you next Wednesday.